Tensions increase as Turkey puts a hold on Sweden and Finland's NATO application, citing the presence of the PKK terror group in both countries as a national security concern. Meanwhile, Ankara signals that it could launch a new operation against the terror group's Syrian affiliate, the YPG. We sit down with former U.S. Ambassador to Turkey and former Special Envoy to Syria to discuss these issues and more. I'm Yusuf Aram, and you're watching One on One. Ambassador James Jeffrey, thank you for joining us on One, and I know you're very busy, but we're very happy that you set aside time for us. So I want to get right into it. There's a lot of issues that I want to touch on, a lot of questions I want to ask. I want to begin. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, he signaled a new operation into Syria against the YPG, a group that Turkey says is a terrorist group affiliate of the PKK. I want to ask you, what would a Turkish operation into Syria look like in your opinion, and what type of reaction will that get from Washington?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's great to be back here in Turkey, where I've spent 9 years. We're concerned about this, and the State Department has spoken out twice in the last 3 days, urging Turkey not to take any steps in northeast Syria. We have an agreement that I helped negotiate between Vice President Pence at the time and President Erdogan in October of 2019 that established essentially a ceasefire in northeast Syria after the Turkish military and the Turkish-supported Syrian opposition moved in. And that ceasefire has held, and we think that all in all it has stabilized the situation. It has allowed us to keep our troops present and to continue fighting against Daesh. Daesh, which has killed more people in Turkey than any place else in the Middle East other than Iraq and Syria itself in 2015 and 2016, remains a threat, and we need to keep the focus on that. We're very concerned that a Turkish operation, if it came in, would disrupt the efforts against Daesh. The other question that we have is exactly where would this occur? As you're looking at the map of northeast Syria, there's a middle third, 30 kilometers deep, where Turkey went into in October of 2019, and we did an agreement. The SDF, the YPG withdrew. Turkish and Turkish-supported Syrian forces stayed in there up to the 30-kilometer limit. Now, on either side, the Russians moved in at the same time, and Turkey has a separate agreement, the Sochi Agreement, also of October 2019, with Russia. So is Turkey planning on moving into these Russian areas with Russian agreement or without it? We don't know what the idea is. What we're afraid of is that this will, first of all, possibly endanger our forces who are operating all over the place, and secondly, will undercut the relative stability in that region with many forces, American, Turkish-supported opposition, Assad's troops in some places, the Russians, the SDF/YPG, and of course Daesh elements. It's a complicated situation. We're happy with the agreement we have with Turkey. We urge Turkey to, in the northeast, not overturn that agreement we've had now for 3 years.
One of the opposition, or one of the arguments we're hearing from the Turkish president is that there's still a YPG presence in this region, that it hasn't been cleared out, that the promises that were given to him by the Americans and the Russians haven't been fully kept. What would you say to that?
I cannot talk about the Russian commitments and the details. Those were done in the Sochi Agreement. I can say that in the area that we spoke about in the October Agreement, the YPG/Syrian Democratic Forces did all withdraw. Now, does that mean there isn't occasionally in there an attack, possibly from them, possibly from Daesh, possibly from Assad? It's a pretty volatile area, but by and large that area has been peaceful and under the control of the Turks down to the 30-kilometer limit since we signed the agreement. And we're happy to live with it, and we do not want to see that essentially ceasefire agreement, although that's not the name, be changed in any way. Now, President Erdogan is responsible for the security of Turkey as the president, and the YPG, or the PKK rather, is a serious danger to Turkey. I was on the ground near Shemdinli and Erfurt back in 19 1984, when the PKK insurgency began. I know the damage it has done to Turkey, and I know how sensitive the Turks are. You just lost 5 soldiers the other day, Başınız olsun on that. But on the other hand, it's very important to realize we have all kinds of threats in Syria and Iraq, and your best partner in working your way, navigating through all of those problems is the United States.
Okay, what you saying that the U.S. is the best partner now? Russia, another country, obviously, that's part of this equation. Russia's shifted its concentration now to Ukraine, war in Ukraine, very important to Russia because right on Russia's border. Is this shift in concentration an opportunity for the U.S. and Turkey to apply more pressure on Russia's presence and influence inside Syria? And does that create an area of cooperation, an area of mutual interest for Turkey and the United States?
Except for differences on the Syrian Democratic Forces, the United States and Turkey have cooperated very, very extensively since at least 2018. First of all, in holding the line in Idlib, keeping Assad's forces out, keeping the 3 million plus internally displaced people in Idlib with humanitarian food and other goods flowing in, and that's important because the UN will have to renew that in July. We're worried about the Russians. There we coordinate closely with the Turks. The Turks are now is part of a larger contact group along with key European countries and key Arab countries that are working with us on Syria. So there's already very good coordination. How much pressure we can put on the Russians, I don't know. My contacts quite recently with Russians are that they do want to maintain their key interests in Syria, their bases, their military relationship with the government, and a friendly government. How much flexibility the Russians will have, that's something that we and the Turks should, in various ways, not necessarily militarily, put to the test.
Okay, let's shift a little east to Iraq. Now, Turkey and the KRG have strengthening relations, and we're seeing Turkey launch multiple cross-border operations against the PKK in northern Iraq. There's talk of a Sinjar operation possibly, and this expanding Turkish influence in northern Iraq has been making Iran-backed militia very, very uncomfortable. There's been a change in influence and leadership in Suleymania, as I said, warmer relations throughout the KRG, and relations improving with the central government in Baghdad as well. How do you view the landscape right now in Iraq? This is a country that you know very well. You also had an ambassadorial posting in Baghdad, and I think your opinion is very important on this.
Iraq is a success story for the international community, for the United States and our soldiers, and also for our partner Turkey. Turkey has worked very hard to support both the Kurdistan regional government in Idlib and the central government. It has worked very hard on developing the energy sector, and it sees the common enemies of everybody in Iraq to be the PKK, the Iranian-backed militias who are working closely with the PKK, for example, in Sinjar, and of course Daesh. You have many foes to your south. We want to work with you both in Syria and in Iraq to come up with solutions that keep those people who are attacking our common interests under control or defeated while maintaining the maximum possible cooperation, which is why we are concerned about an operation in the Northeast, because it would make it harder for us to work with you.
Okay, let's also talk a little about NATO. Now, many Baltic and Scandinavian countries are greatly concerned by the Russian attack on Ukraine, feeling threatened themselves. We've seen Finland and Sweden apply for NATO membership. Turkey has vetoed their membership application, citing...
Not vetoed. Turkey has said it wants to
Not vetoed.
talk.
They want to talk. Further negotiate, let's say postponing a membership application right now for further negotiations. And Turkey cited the presence of the PKK in both of these countries, saying it's unacceptable. Now, how do you view Turkey's objections to both of these countries, and can this issue be resolved with further talk, as you said?
First, I'm optimistic it can be, but that's going to take effort by a lot of people, including my own government. But first, on Ukraine, your viewers need to know this is an extraordinary event, the first of its nature since 1945, where one of the world's great powers launches an unprecedented attack on a nation state to try to gain territory. That's exactly what we had before 1945 in the world. Look what happened in 1914, 1915. Turkey went through terrible times, as did almost everybody else. So this is a huge challenge. No country in NATO has done more to stop the Russians previously in places like Idlib and in Libya, but certainly in Ukraine than Turkey. As we look out over our shoulders, we see the Bosphorus, where Turkey has invoked the Montreux Convention, declaring that what was going on in Ukraine to be a war, because that was a legal prerequisite for Turkey to stop the reinforcement of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. This is hugely significant. It has also blocked the airspace between Syria and Russia, further crimping Russia's ability to move forces back and forth, as well as giving Ukraine diplomatic support, a whole channel to possibly find a solution between the Russians and the Zelensky government, but also very, very effective military assistance, as we've seen in the drones that you have sent. So everybody is very, very happy with what Turkey is doing with Ukraine. Now, it's very important for our overall position that the West, including Turkey, emerges stronger, as President Biden said, and Russia emerges weaker from this affront to the global order. That doesn't mean we want to eliminate Russia or overthrow it. It means we don't want it to try again. We want it to be deterred from a new attack. Sweden and Finland entering NATO are massively effective moves to signal to Russia that it has made a big mistake without threatening the survival of the Russian regime. So therefore, it's a good thing. Turkey, I don't think, is opposed in principle to it. Turkey has said, including in the last week repeatedly, it has always been in favor of NATO expansion. In fact, it was in favor of Ukraine and Georgia. But that it has these concerns about PKK support, particularly in Sweden. Those need to be addressed. The issue of arms vetoes from Sweden to Turkey, that needs to be discussed as well. At the end of the day, I think that there is a solution that will meet Turkey's security concerns, which are very important, while also allow those countries in. I hope my country plays a bigger role at the level of Secretary Blinken and President Biden to try to resolve this, because we are very much in favor of supporting Turkey, but also in favor of these two countries coming in.
One last question. The Madrid NATO summit, it's just around the corner. Now, do you expect Turkey to carry these concerns that it has on Sweden and Finland to this top-level meeting amongst alliance members, where the Turkish president could seek a more expanded bargain that would include security guarantees from other alliance members, as well, with all the leaders at the table? And also, you stated that Sweden and Finland should not arms embargo Turkey, but also the United States has implied removed Turkey from the F-35 program. I'd also like to get your opinion on that.
That's a seven-part question, but let me start with the NATO summit. First of all, the whole logic of NATO is that every member state is equal and every member state's security concerns are equal. While right now the focus is on Russia, and in the Cold War, of course, with Turkey threatened right here in the Dardanelles by the Soviet Union in 1947, we sent the USS Missouri to signal our support, and on, we all know that history. The focus has been on Russia, but it has also been other things. The only time that Article 5, the NATO commitment to defend other NATO countries, has been enacted was against al-Qaeda when they attacked the U.S. in 2003. 2001 rather. And in addition, NATO has repeatedly deployed forces here to Turkey to support Turkey in 1991, to support Turkey during the Syrian fighting from 2014 to the present. And Turkey thus is a consumer of NATO security as well as a major contributor to NATO security. Thus, it will have a very, very strong voice at this summit. Its concerns will be at the center of alliance considerations. I can't predict what will come out of this, but I'm absolutely sure that Turkey will be heard.
Okay, Ambassador James Jeffrey, thank you very much.
Thank you
for joining us on One on One.
Okay, thank you very much.